Y'all knows before reacts. Like I said in my video in the past, the whole thing about calling the exes he did with his daughter was really all an underlining plan in order to get Lexi back, but he needed something to motivate him in order to do so. Or it was the fact he was already back talking to Lexi, but he didn't want his fans to feel some type of way. So he orchestrated a plan to introduce Lexi back into the channel with a prank call or some type of joke to call your ex back and figure out, if you can give them another chance or if they still want you. But let's get right into the video.
Comments, and you guys were actually asking us to do more story time, so I decided to do a story time by myself. This story time is very, very special to me, which is why I chose to do it by myself, because it's the honest to God truth. And I know a lot of you guys probably, without even asking the question, have thought about this at least once or twice in your life. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the tea. Yes, Lexi is back around, as you guys can see. If you follow me on Snapchat, CJ period so cool, then you have already saw that. We've been doing reactions, having a good old time bickering over there. But the reason why she is back and the reason why I'm doing the story time all goes, hand in hand. So before I get into why she's back, I will just start on how I lost her. I was forcing myself to be in a relationship after I broke up with Royalty because I was used to being in a relationship and I didn't really want to be for the streets. I know I'm a good looking man. I know a lot of women would have liked me, but I knew I had way too much to offer. So I didn't want to be out in the streets being used, because a lot of girls, they just see what they see and there's no way around it. But Lexi, when I first met her, even though she could tell I had bread, I had all my jewelry on, I had a mansion, she came to my house, she saw everything. I don't know if you remember the first video I posted of Lexi, but it was her and like 8 other white girls in my house, and we was just playing basketball, just doing a lot of random stuff. And then we went to a fair, and then next thing you know, it was like a dating show. I was looking for love, and out of all Lexi friends, I thought she was the one. So that's how we ended up, talking or whatever. But I brought her on YouTube as an assistant, which eventually D-Lo advised me that I should date her, and the comments was like, you should talk to her, you should talk to her. But we was already talking the whole time, so that's just something you guys didn't know.
Is he serious? This one, this why sometimes I think CJ got to be slow. Ain't nobody thought that there was no way that you guys weren't talking before then. Like the fans convinced you to talk to Lexi. Everybody knew you was already talking to her. Where are you getting this from? Sometimes I just find it quite odd that he'll say something that's so anecdotal. Understand something. People already knew what you were trying to do, how you was moving. We know you don't like to be alone because you have abandonment issues. But don't sit up here and say that, I know you guys didn't know. No, a lot of people already knew. What the freak?
When I got with Lexi, everything about me said, this guy is a lover boy. He needs to be in a relationship. He's been hurt. His previous relationship, it did work to a certain extent, but the love portion of it was just like vacant. We were getting money. We were getting views. We had clout. We had success, but we weren't really feeling each other. We had stopped doing a little one-on-one vacations, and that was a big part of our life. Once we stopped doing that, I realized it wasn't working anymore. I started to go on vacation by myself. She started to go to Texas to Funny Mike's house. Like, we just started to do weird.
Here you go back to Royalty. You can tell that CJ So Cool has been completely and utterly hurt by Royalty and the kids. And it's really due to the fact that's actually his family. That was originally the family that he invested everything into. They became successful together. He looked at those children, even though they wasn't his, as his own. They called him father, they called him dad, and they literally did it together for 9 years. But the relationship ran its course. They obviously, started going their separate ways, going back and forth, bickering, fighting, arguing, not coming to no type of solution. And when a relationship hits a peak like that, God has to be the center. If God is not the center, it will crash and burn. And that's what happens with a lot of individuals. But one thing I'm going to say is CJ should have never jumped into a relationship right afterwards, because when you do rebounds, that's exactly what it is. It's a rebound. is not meant to be, for a prolonged period of time. But then sometimes a person cannot really be a rebound. They can actually be that person for you. But you're still in that stage where you're conflicted. You still want to be with royalty. You still want things to work out. You having hope. But then when you don't see that, it kind of makes you feel like I really don't want to invest in nobody really, because I invest in her. That means I'm straying away from the family that I had. It's a confliction.
We're stuck, me and royalty. So when I got with Lexi, I realized that I had a chance to do it all over again, but with way less baggage. And I don't want to call royalty's kids baggage, but kids are baggage. So when they're
They
not your
are.
kids and then
They
they
are.
just automatically appear in your life through someone that you're talking to, you automatically are obligated to start doing things that you normally didn't have to
That's
do.
an
So I consider
instant
that baggage.
family.
Lexi didn't have no baggage, so I felt super attracted to her in that way because I felt like I could still do me, you know, because it wasn't so much of, oh, let me be home, make sure these kids good. It was just like, okay, she's a girl. Whenever she leave, I'm gonna go hurry up and do what I gotta do. And basically, I wasn't ready for a relationship, but I did get with her because I knew she was the one. I didn't want to just blow through her. She wasn't a one night stand, so I didn't want to treat her like such and ended up losing her. So we got together and we stayed together through thick and thin. Now, of course, in the beginning, I don't think Lexi knew that I was doing me. I think that she believed that I was actually a faithful guy. I don't know, maybe I was really good at convincing her that I was a faithful guy, but honest to God, man, I was just DMing everybody, man. I was like a kid in a candy store because I had been locked down so long, and now it was time for me to
Now, like I said before, you should have never ever got into a committed relationship, or you should have just let it be known what your actions were. I'm still gonna be trying to talk to different people. I feel like I haven't found the person that I genuinely want to settle for, and it's up to you if you want to stay or go. But if you're putting on a facade where you're like, I'm a loyal guy, I'm not going to cheat, I'm not going to do this, then that comes off, like you're trying to sell somebody on a dream, even though you're doing other things in the background. That's being a hypocrite. That's being a liar. That's being a manipulator, right? So it's a lot of aspects about life that he has to confront.
experiment and see what was really out there, which wasn't really nothing. The dating pool is so screwed up. I mean,
It's
like,
terrible, bro.
I be thinking I'm finna hit a one night stand on somebody, and then they hit a one night stand on me. So you never know what's really going on, man. The streets is not healthy. So even though I was doing me, Lexi and I were like getting really close together. And then in December, I'll never forget, it was her birthday. That's when I announced that we were in a relationship, like a legit relationship. And then I bought her a Cartier bust down, bought her the heart baguette bracelet. I started doing things for her, like I had already been doing things for her, but this time I was like doing things for her, and I wanted everybody to see. And of course, a big portion of that was towards royalty. I wanted royalty to see, aha, like I left you. Yeah, you can have the jewelry I gave you, but I'm already buying new jewelry for.
Now he's admitting that he was doing that in order to make royalty jealous, which everybody already knew, but it just became more apparent as it went on because he was just doing it so much in the face. If you care about this woman, you don't have to do everything online in the public eye. But obviously, he wanted royalty to see it, be like, "Hey, look what you're missing out on. Imma spend more money on her. Imma take her on more elaborate trips. Imma do this," and it did work on royalty. Royalty was jealous for a lot of those situations, but all that did was stir up strife, stir things up, which caused a strain on your co-parenting situation and your relationship with royalty, just as a co-parent in a situation where y'all can come on a mutual ground where y'all can have each other to speak with about the children without any type of arguing, strife, separation, and y'all can literally be a healthy, you know, individuals separate but together when it comes down to the children. But you didn't want that. You wanted to make her angry and upset because you were hurt. Hurt people hurt other people, but it never works out in the end. It never does.
Somebody else. This could have been yours, but you're a loser. It was more like that, and I'm pretty sure y'all already understood and thought that anyway. Because when you break up with somebody, it's your duty as a man to flex on your ex, or it's gonna go the other way around. And you don't want that. So yeah,
It does happen.
I'm doing all this stuff for Lexi, and that's when I realized, man, I got too much money to be with one person. And of course, I don't think like that now. I think that is the most dumbest idea that I've ever had. And I literally went with the idea, which sucks. I started, going extra hard. Like I had already been talking to anybody I wanted to behind Lexi back, but then I started actually like really being the most disrespectful person ever in a relationship. Not like talking. I'm talking about like cheating. I don't condone cheating. It's not healthy. It's not. It's not cute.
How many times have we heard CJ say this? And a lot of people actually think just because you have a lot of money, you should mess with this person, this person, this person. As a man, you get soul ties as well. As a man, that can mess with your psyche. It can have you chasing after the baddest chick that you think, but then once you get with the baddest chick that you think visually speaking, internally she might not be. Innately she might not be. She has all these problems and issues. So then you're thinking, oh, she actually wasn't that bad. Or she got surgery. She got this. There's a lot of emptiness in this woman, a lot of broken pieces. It's just a shell. And then you go do it again because you just want the thrill of the flesh. But the flesh will never be satisfied. It'll have you in a situation where you're chasing and chasing and chasing, and you're never ever finding any type of fulfillment. Spirituality is the key. But if you find somebody you can be on one accord with, spiritually, mentally, and physically, it can fulfill every aspect of your life, and you ain't got to ever worry about that type of thing occurring again.
And the only people that do think that it's cute is the people that's cheating. So I really don't want to be only liked by the dirtiest people. I want to be liked by the pure people, the clean people. I want everyone's attention. I don't want to just be known as the cheater because if I was never in a relationship, I wouldn't be considered a cheater. But I had to be in a relationship with Lexi or I would have lost her. There was no way she was just going to keep letting me, pop in and out. I had to play the role. So we was getting views on YouTube, just like me and Royalty, just like me if I was to do my own thing. But I always consider that a sign from God. Like, okay, if this is working on social media, then it's meant to be. I have to be with this person. There's no way around it. All these other girls I'm talking to, they have no idea how to be on social media. They do want the clout, but they don't know anything about it. They don't want to be in the videos. They aren't creative. They aren't funny. They aren't fun to be around. I was already thinking that. And when I started to realize that I only cheated because of sex, and I'm sorry if there's any kids watching this, but this is a life story. This is my story time. So, yeah,
And I just mentioned that. I just said the lust of the flesh. When people are too invested in trying to fulfill the bodily needs. Let me give you an example of something, right? This is how the flesh works. You might eat at a restaurant or you might go out somewhere. And you might say, this is the best food I ever had. And then you go there every other day. Now you just do it too much. You eat there way too often. And then after a month or two go by, you don't even wanna hear about that place no more. You like, oh, you mentioned to somebody, "You wanna eat here today?" You like, "Nah, man, I eat that shit too much. Let's eat somewhere else." And you eat somewhere else, and you say, "This is the best I ever had." That's how the flesh work. It plays games like when you buy a new car. You cleaning that motherfucker every day. Nobody better not touch my baby, my car, my car, my car. 6 months later, dust on it. You go get it washed probably every 2 weeks. You ain't even up on it like that. You leave shit in your car sometimes. It's just not that important anymore because even your eyes become different. Even your eyes become different. And that's how it works. Your body, when it comes down to all vanity, will always get used to it. A house may appear big to you, but once you lived in that motherfucker too long, it don't seem so big anymore. You can get a bigger house than that one. You gotta focus on things of God, spirituality, and truth, because fulfillment has to be hit on all levels. Otherwise, you're gonna be chasing something that's gonna leave you emptier and emptier and emptier every single time. And it's gonna make you crash out because you searching for it so bad that you're willing to put yourself in dangerous predicaments and circumstances, which leads to your end.
it's just all about me. Only time I cheated was for sexual reasons only. It wasn't because I was like lonely. It wasn't because I wanted some other type of energy around. It was only because I needed to prove to myself that even though I was locked up with royalty for 9 years, I still had it in me. I still had the dog. I still could shark a bitch. I just needed to know, right? And all that validation did was prove to me that I was a dumbass because, of course, I could still get them. Girls are everywhere. Of course, there are high class girls that they not going, and then you got middle class girls that's always going. Then we already know about low class girls. I try my hardest to stay away from them, but of course they are open like the sea. I love to hunt. Okay, I just was out there hunting. That's it, and I would shoot a shot and I would hit the shot. It wasn't really my fault. It was like a man's mentality syndrome that I had began to develop, and it just stuck with me. I was like, this is what men do. Now, why did I think that? Because I ain't had no father growing up. Am I mad that I didn't have a dad? No, I'm not mad at all, because I got to live life and experience life and understand.
And I'm glad that he admitted to that. But I ain't gonna say yes. We all have to take accountability for our actions. Can I say it's his fault for not having a father? No, because children should not be paying for the sins of their parents. His mom, he didn't choose his mother. His mother decided to go out there and have unprotected sex and have a child in a situation where she didn't want to raise that child or his siblings, almost get him up to the goddamn system if it wasn't for his great grandmother, his grandma. It was for them to raise them. So at the end of the day, no, it's not CJ So Cool's fault for not having a father. It's like it's not a lot of people's fault for not having a father, not having a real example of a man in the household that can teach them and guide them. But when you let the world guide you because you don't actually have it, the world will always lead you down the wrong path, always make you believe this is what a man is, this is what a woman is, and that is not the truth.
Understand what it is that a man is really supposed to be out here doing, which is not hunting, by the way, unless you're technically out there hunting. So me and Lexi
This is Pod 5.
That's craziness, though, but it actually makes a lot of sense. I've been said this a long time ago.
had some ups and some downs, because eventually she started to realize that I wasn't who she thought I was, and I was actually just this guy that did what he wanted to do. And then I kept buying her stuff and taking her places, of course, to
Make up for the
mend
bullshit.
the wounds that I had created. And then it happened. The royalty situation, where royalty would come over and she would watch me watch my kids, and I would have to tell Lexi, you got to go home because she doesn't want you around her kids because you're white. That stuff started to happen, right? Now, when that stuff started to happen, I realized that Lexi was more of a rider than Royalty, and Royalty was super petty even though she was older. Now, this video is not about to start dissing Royalty. Actually, I'm going to try to not
You
say
already
as
dissing
much
her.
about her, but I'm just trying to give the story the way that I remember it. That's when I really was like, okay, I don't need to cheat on Lexi as much, because on God, this lady is a straight savage. Now, when I got to the point where Royalty wasn't babysitting me, watch the kids, that's when I began to sneak Lexi around and have her help me. She was cooking for the kids, playing with them, reading to them. Like, it was way better with her around. Just seeing her mother instincts made me like her way more. Now, she didn't have no kids, still don't. But that doesn't mean that you don't have mother instincts. Every woman should be born with the instinct, because kids come from women. So if you don't have it in you, then where you gonna buy it from? That's when it happened. I got popped in my own crib. I held it down. I fought them off. And that night, Lexi had told me, like, I just really feel like I should just go home. My stomach hurts. I don't want to sleep here. Even though she had spent the night with me every night, she left, right? Left me there alone to die. I got shot, but like I said, I held it.
Hey, Lexi White, man, she felt like you was on some other shit. You was already lying about cheating on her. She had to find that out. You was messing with all her, trying to message all their friends. And, white people don't feel secure when shit like that happen. They feel like you must be on some other type shit. So she said, "I'm clearing it." Don't get me wrong, that was not cool. I feel like if you're gonna be a ride or die. If you're gonna be a woman that's, gonna be with you through thick and thin, then you can't just run away when the shit get rough. I think you should do all of your due diligence to make sure that this person is not dangerous. You gotta make sure, is this person dangerous? Are they causing this? You gotta rule a lot of shit out, and it's hard. But that's some crazy shit though.
Down, man. I was in boxing training, weightlifting classes. I had been running every day. I was in top tier shape. Them dudes had no idea who they was fooling with. So, of course, when they were shooting me, I didn't feel it. I didn't care. I was still on their heads. And once that was all over and I was in the hospital, and then Royalty tried to pull up, and we all know the rest. I had to tell the police, I do not know her. I don't have a sister. First of all, who goes to the hospital and lie and say there's your sister if they're not?
Yeah, that's
If you're the
weird.
mother of his
Royalty
children,
shouldn't
say
did that.
I'm the mother of his children. Say I'm his wife. Say I'm his fiance, because that is closer to the truth than saying you're my sister, because you know you aren't my sister. That would mean that I had kids with my sister. That's weird. So I said, nah, I don't got no sister, man. Hey, bro, please save me, protect me, right? Lexi was right there the whole time. Lexi was right there the whole time. So every day I'm getting closer to Lexi because she's the one that's there. She's helping me with the kids, as I mentioned. She's going through the drama with me, with royalty, as I mentioned. She's there while I'm bleeding to death, all right? Now, once I got out the hospital, I had Lexi, Kevin wife. I had a bunch of friends come over, but Lexi, Kevin, and Kevin wife was helping me, like, physically. Oh, let me not leave out my baby mama. Shout out to Nike. Nike, too.
But let me see something though, because we know these stories.
Grimiest hood place that I could have ever been born and raised. I moved from there. I made it to Las Vegas, and now I have more drama in my life than I ever had before. And then, we broke up, actually. And when we broke up, I went back to the streets, of course. And that wasn't a good thing to do, but I did it. And then I ended up with K. And then after K, I ended up with Tay. And then after Tay, I ended up with Swade. And then after Swade, I ended up back to the streets and then back to Lexi. I forgot about Mabel, but yeah, man.
Damn,
I did
forgot
a lot
about
of
Mabel.
things that men consider to be normal, but it still doesn't make it good. Okay, just because some men think that having multiple women is good doesn't mean that it's what God wants for us. It doesn't mean that it's what our kids want to see us doing. So I've always went against my commenters, and I honestly got to apologize to y'all because every time I see y'all telling me, stop introducing your kids to so many people, I always just get mad at y'all. Like, shut the heck up, man. You don't know me. Get out of here. But you guys do know me. You know what's best for me because you guys are talking from a public perspective, which means that is the norm. You guys are going off the norm. Whatever the Matrix has created for us, that is the norm, right? So what is the norm? The norm is have a girl, have kids, that's your family, get a house, go to work, die happy, all right? That's the norm. That's what they created for us. So to see this a cool route, it doesn't sound like that. I had a kid, left my kid, went to Vegas, took care of somebody else's kids, then had more kids, then broke up with them, then got with a girl that didn't have kids, then fought for my kids, then now I have all my kids in my life as a single father. It's just like I'm doing it the total opposite.
I see.
When I did that video, which you guys were commenting on, make sure you go and check it out. It was me, Mari, Aubrey, and Raynell calling our exes to see who can last on the phone the longest and who can convince their ex that they actually wanted them back, even though we were trolling. I ended up winning, of course, and stayed on the phone with Lexi a long time. And in the chat, y'all was actually saying y'all was happy for us and proud of me for doing this. And this was a breath of fresh air, having Lexi back. Oh, my God. And I got to admit, Lexi is a very creative person, man. Lexi taught me that there were 3 versions of myself, matter of fact. I already knew I was creative because I was a YouTuber before I met Lexi, so I'm not going to give her that credit. But she taught me that there were 3 versions of myself. I only knew creative. Like, that's the only version of myself I cared about. I never argue with royalty. She couldn't get me to argue because I would just say, I'd rather just go do a video with your kids. Like that was my way of getting her back. I just won with success, and it worked for everyone.
Oh gosh.
Instead of arguing with a girl out there, I would never do that, right? But then when I got with Lexi, I started arguing more with royalty about my rights as a father, and then I realized that I had a creative side, an argumentative side, and of course I had the side that thinks with his brain down there. So I had 3 versions of myself. The version of me that would just wake up and say, I'm going to go through Lexi's following and hit up all her friends. Like, that was not a good version of me, but I went through that, and I lived through that phase. And then I went through the, I'm going to argue all the time if you don't give me what I want phase. And that wasn't good. And then now I'm in the creative phase. So what happened with me and Lexi was I put her through so much that, like I said, I started to have second thoughts on what she was actually doing or what she was capable of doing behind my back. So I just made it very hard for her to survive around me, and eventually I broke up with her, and when I did, I actually saw her on some YouTuber's page. He's like a 7-foot NBA player or football player or something. I really don't know what he do or what he did. But I saw her cooking for him, and I was like, dang, literally lost my ball, bro. Lost home court advantage, bro. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go in the streets, and that's really what happened. So I was not even expecting to see that. I don't know how it crossed. I know what happened. YouTube. I was somehow scrolling on YouTube and I saw a video that said, can white girls cook or something like that. It was actually a very degrading title. I don't know. It was like, can snow bunnies cook or something. And it was Lexi. I was like, yo, what the hell? So, yeah, man, I couldn't believe it. I saw the video. They was talking about me too, of course. And it was eye-opening because I realized what I looked like. And I was like, oh, that's what it feels like to see someone that you love on a channel with someone else. And they're doing the same thing y'all was doing. It's embarrassing. especially because I taught Lexi YouTube. Like she's not a YouTuber. She was never a YouTuber. She's a realtor and a soccer player. And she's a Las Vegas baddie that goes to every event and convention, party, concert, game. She's that type of person, but a YouTuber, she was never. And then I saw her like she was literally running that show too. That video that I saw of her and him, she was doing so good. So gotta give it to her on that. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? And we were still talking too, which was why I was shocked. I was like, dang, like we were still talking and you had already did that and you didn't tell me. So I knew I was right. I was like, I knew you was capable of doing anything. So it pushed me further away from Lexi. But like I said, that video brought me right back. And when she came back, I realized when we was on Snapchat that it was a good thing to have her around because even if we're not in a relationship, even if we are in a relationship, she's the type of person you can remain friends with. And that's a good thing. So you guys got to remember.
So him seeing her with another man made him feel more possessive over her. And that kind of makes a lot of sense because a lot of people don't they need to get a dose of their own medicine in order to change. Some people need to realize when you got something good and when you make the comparison about the others that you have been with that are trash and garbage, then you're able to look back and say, "Damn, I actually had a good one." That's only if you're able to get that person back. A lot of times that ain't the case. A lot of times it's over for you.
Remember, man, just because you aren't in a relationship and you're not having sex with the person anymore doesn't mean that you have to be their enemy. That is so crazy to me that that is the norm. Is when you break up with someone, you literally hate their guts. It's like, dang, why? You know, even if we did each other wrong, why can't we be cool now just knowing that we're not together and we don't have to piss each other off? That's how me and Lexi was able to stay friends. And I believe that this time, even if we don't work out, we will always be friends. And at the least, we can always film content together because having her in the content, if you haven't saw my Snapchat, I'm gonna keep talking about Snapchat because I swear so much footage over there. And I'm not a clipper. So I'm not gonna clip my content just so y'all can see the best versions of it and then you not go through my Snapchat and watch all the videos like everyone else that's loyal to me. Matter of fact, shout out to the Snap game, man. I love my Snap.
Now, one thing I'm gonna say is this: he said, even if we don't work out, the one thing you can't do is trust. Sierra's so cool when it comes down to any woman after royalty because unless he has a kid with them or there's some type of common interest where they make money together and it elevates him to a whole nother level and he finds that trust in that person in order to build a business and reputation off of. Other than that, I don't think so. But let me know what you guys think about in this video. Do you believe that Lexi is going to be the one for him to finally settle down with, or he just using her to get views because he realized that he's going downhill and needs some type of way to catapult himself, or he just mad with royalty getting with that damn dude, that fake millionaire dude, whatever the case may be, that's already married, that she's parading around. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, man. I'm up out of there.